In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. The staircase of thinking levels on earth. So, dear viewers, welcome. I don't know if this was the best time for me to give a lecture, but I was like, all right, let's go with it. So it occurred to me, first of all, I feel like that time of me kind of taking a break from the talks is coming. And I thought about speaking about the different levels to thinking there is, even though my opinions on it are unique. And I have prepared, so keep in mind, guys, I'm a human being on Earth. This life is happening for me for the first time, too. Even though I have lived 12,000 days, the world is like this giant event where every day we discover more about it. And so, humans have been used to use tools. This podcast I'm using, this laptop, phone, these are all tools. So human beings use tools. Now, some of those tools recently, through the emergence of AI, right now we are kind of engaging the caveman version of AI. Okay? And yet the caveman version of AI is still a little bit lower than the human level. But the point is that right now we have a sophisticated access to information. And when you really look at what the value of information is kind of to see what's there at all. Do you know that means sometimes in life you can't be fascinated if you are too solidly opinionized, and sometimes you have to just be like, okay, what other forms are there? For example, the human being, its eyes open, it sees something, and then it makes a value judgment, okay, on what it sees. But I'm saying, imagine you stopped your own value judgments on your perception, and for a moment you were like, yo, what if I was a designer? What if I was fascinated by the design of what's possible, the possibility of design in space, rather than in some sense narrativizing, or storifying, my perception. Anyways, where I'm going with this is there's a research component. I'm going to read this for you. And as you are listening to this, the whole point of it is to, in some sense, expand the horizons of your inner realm possible fathoming. So I'm going to read for you this kind of essay, this thing AI wrote. ChatGPT 4.0, June 26, 9:15 p.m. The hidden staircase, the 9 levels of human thought. AI says, level 1. So guys, you need to think of it this way. It's like right now I'm climbing a staircase with you. In regards to what I'm reading, it's starting from like at the bottom of the staircase and we're going one step up. And the point of this is for you to listen to this lecture and try to be able to pinpoint where your level of thinking is at. Okay, and what else can it be? Where else can it be? And what is the true depth of our retaliation as consciousness to the mystery of our existence? And I will speak about that more at the end. But first, we got to get through the research component. So AI says the hidden staircase, the 9 levels of human thought. The architecture of human cognition from instinct to divinity. Level 1, impulsive awareness, the body's first language. At the very beginning of thought, there is no thought. What a sentence. Wow. Wow. That is the most... It's like at the beginning, there was no beginning. AI says level 1, impulsive awareness, the body's first language. At the very beginning of thought, there is no thought. There is only sensation, raw, immediate, unfiltered. This is the same realm. This is the realm of infants, animals, and the brain in shock. It is a world where you are not yet a self. You're a bundle of reactions, hunger, heat, cold, grasp, scream. The body is the thinker here, not the mind. Pain is the teacher. Safety is the goal. Memory has not yet formed a timeline. There is no future, no story, no why. But from this soil, all complexity grows. This level still lives in us, in our panic, our addictions, our split-second reactions. It's not wrong, it is the beginning. And it summarizes it, summary, impulsive awareness is pre-thought experience. Sensation-based, reactive, and survival-driven. It is the base layer of human consciousness, both primal and essential. So guys, level 1, we've all kind of been through it as children, right? And it's pretty much sensation. The best way it said, it's level 1, like the body's thinking, do you know? And basically when you look at children, you got to just consider any child on this planet. You just have to consider like, okay, sorry guys, just got distracted for a sec. So any child you see, any human being, okay, their mission is safety, and pain is what they're moving away from. Do you know that's kind of like you can say level 1. Do you know? And there is no memory, has not yet formed a timeline. Level 2, magical egocentric thinking. The spell of self. Okay, guys, magic is old world. You know, magic is like a wagon, divinity is like a Bugatti. Like, keep that in mind. When the child begins to imagine, the mind awakens, but it does not yet know the difference between inner and outer, between wish and world. Here thought is magical. I cried and the thunder came. I am powerful. At this level, reality is built around the self. The ego takes center stage, assigning meaning to everything as if the universe is a mirror. This is not just childish. Adults return here during moments of narcissism, fantasy, paranoia, or spiritual delusion. It is a beautiful level where myth is real and imagination is law, but it is also a dangerous one where logic is sacrificed for narrative comfort. That means that's kind of something obvious. I guess we've all seen, you know, like, you know, how older people talk to younger, like toddlers or something. It's kind of like even they make their voice sound fictional, you know. Even though I've read somewhere that it's good to kind of like even speak to a young child, like, you know, not as if they're a child in a fantasy land. So, summary: magical thinking is ego centered and symbolic. It merges inner emotion with outer events, often resulting in superstition, projection, and solipsism. Okay, so it's saying one kind of thinking is just the impulsive awareness, the beginning. And then there's level two, magical egocentric thinking. It's pretty much saying like how you treat. It's pretty much like you just basing it on your inner realm. So it makes sense. First, it's the in consciousness is learning as a body, right? Then it just I so think of it this way. What really is going on Earth, a consciousness, an awareness, a force of awareness is in some sense just like how you're living, like you know how somebody lives in, like, how do I say it, like you physically move, like, in the physical world, and you experience different sights. Like if you went to some country, you'd see a different scenery, than another country, or a different part of the where you are, a different scenery. So I'm saying it's kind of like this, that think of it this way. This is why the soul makes it actually very easy to kind of talk about human consciousness. It's kind of like your soul is touring. It's touring like physical sensation alone. Okay, so been there, done that. The child cried, and then you have the level two where it's saying it's where the human. It's kind of fascinating because it's identification with the ego. Usually, the golden age of any era is right when it's like kind of being pioneered. Post pioneered emergence. I don't know how to say it, but like, so guys, think of it this way. You first get acquainted with your body, then you get acquainted with your ego. And then you think your ego is absolute, right? So here it says summary: magical thinking is ego-centered and symbolic. It merges inner emotion with outer events, often resulting in superstition, projection, and solipsism. You know? That means sometimes when children say they see an imaginary friend, it could be that they're still not acquainted with self-projection, but their mind is still projecting something. So, if they can't identify it as themselves, or relate to it to some degree, or think of it this way, it's like, imagine if you're on a horse. If you are controlling the horse, then you are riding. Do you know? If in some sense the horse is going on it by itself and you can't control it, do you know what I mean? It's like you're not technically riding it, even though you kind of are. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, it's like getting acquainted to how our imagination is real, and then realizing no, our imagination is in another room happening compared to external reality. Anyways, we go to level three: concrete rule-based thinking, the walls of order. Eventually the child learns that the world has rules. Not everything bends to imagination. There is right, wrong, yes, no, up, down. This is the stage of structure where truth is external, and the voice of the teacher, the law, the scripture, the tribe. At this level, the mind becomes obedient, but not yet autonomous. It can follow a system, but cannot question it. Most societies depend on this level to function. It creates order, but also dogma, safety, but also rigidity. Many adults never transcend it. Summary: rule-based thinking is structured and binary. It allows for organized society, but lacks the flexibility to question its own foundations. So do you know what that means? So it's like you were born, level one, you got used to the body. Level two, you got used to your mind. Level three, now you're using your body and mind in accordance to rules before you. Do you know what that means? Like, people don't like to treat themselves like, yo, I'm not a follower. But you don't understand. We are all followers in any area where we are, like, we don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? If somebody doesn't know the address to somewhere, do you know what I mean? They have to follow the car that does. It's like your cousin's car that knows where the address is. Or, if they know it just based on sight or something? Do you know? So what I'm telling you is that level three is concrete rule-based thinking. So level one was the body's first language. Level two was the spell of self, or then we have the walls of order, level three. So then we go to level four, abstract rationality. Oh my God, a new level's unlocked. We can be rational in abstract ways. So level four, abstract rationality. The thinker awakes. Then comes a powerful leap. Yo, I don't know why. I just know I have to play this song right now. I just know. As soon as I can find it. There we go. So level four, abstract rationality. The thinker awakes. Then comes a powerful leap. The ability to think. This is level four, guys. Then comes a powerful leap. The ability to think abstractly. The mind begins to generate its own ideas. It no longer simply obeys. It authors. This is the emergence of the self-aware individual, capable of logic, self-reflection, moral independence, and future planning. Here, the person begins to construct an identity beyond social roles. They become philosophers, planners, designers. But this level is often arrogant. It believes it sees everything. It may dismiss emotion as weakness, myth as ignorance, or mystery as superstition. Summary: abstract rationality allows for autonomy and structured reflection. It empowers personal growth, but risks becoming rigid or emotionally detached. Excuse me. Abstract rationality allows for autonomy and structured reflection. It empowers personal growth, but risks becoming rigid, overconfident, or emotionally detached. So, guys, let me tell you what it is. So, you got to kind of think of it like this. Yo, man, this child is born on earth. What sort of levels of thinking is this child going through? Okay, so first was the acquaintance with the body's first language. Okay, then we had kind of the mind's reality, let's say the illusion of self, or the first experience of self, subjective self, right? Centered. So first you got acquainted with your body, then you got acquainted with your mind's ability to consider projection, to stabilize projection. Okay? That means it's like a child, children who wear capes and think they're superheroes. That's them, like as early humans, new humans experiencing, in some sense, how their mind can be something. But then level three is like, yo, I'm not just born in my imagination. I am born I am born in some sense in in a system, in a specific system with rules. you know and so it's like you unlocked your body, then you unlocked your mind. Now you're unlocking the experience of your body and mind in a system that is telling you what to do. And then level 4, you get to a point of abstract rationality. What that means is you begin, how would I say it? Level 4 is pretty much you begin to realize you can separate yourself from the perception, right? That means most people think they are their perception, right? But there's a part of you that can be aware that it is not the perception. Therefore, you find the space to look at the perception from different angles. Let me try to see if I can kind of simplify this. It's like, you know how people think they have thoughts, you know? And if you ask them what they are, they'll be like, bro, I'm a thought right now thinking of new thoughts. And I'll be like, that makes sense. You're a thought thinking new thoughts. You know, that's the attitude. But I'm telling you, you're actually, this is going to come across a bit strange, but you're actually a type of space where the mind is a force. You know, it's like your awareness is a field, your mind is a force, and your body is a form. It's like I'm trying to say, like, your soul is a field. You're going to be like, what do you mean, Mr. Within it? You mean like a soccer field, a football field? I'll be like, not that big. It's like, it's it's more like your backyard, okay? So right now, just look at your eyes and wonder about how aware of you. I mean, it depends on where you are. If you're standing in the Himalayas and you're like, yo, man, what are my spatial limitations? Well, guess what? You're near the sky. Nothing. You know what I mean? Well, if you... But if you're inside a room, I mean, then that's different. So level 1 was like, whoa, am I being a body right now? Level 2, whoa, am I being my mind right now? Level 3, oh my God, it's not just my mind and my body. There's a system here before I was, arrived here. Do you know? And it's okay, can my mind and body follow the rules of the system? Do you know? And so after it follows the rules of the system, after modes of looping, there is leakage of new perception. You can't do the same thing. I will tell you something funny. If right now somebody was like, hey, go become a key maker. Okay? If somebody told me like, I think like I could identify with, I could kind of relate to the key maker, from the movie Matrix. Like, I think that's what Mr. Within kind of would be. Do you know what I mean? The Mr. Within archetype, it's similar to that. Do you know? Some dude who just has a bunch of keys and is going from door to door, and instead, he's recording a podcast while he's doing it. So anyways, if somebody was like, yo, man, go become, like, if right now somebody was like, can you go and become the greatest key maker in history? I would just have to go and repeat that process so many times that I get rid of all my emotions and I reach that post-emotion state of your mastering a skill, where it's like it's no longer important because it has repeated so many times. Do you know what I mean? It's like compared to someone who's going to their first battle and somebody who's been in like 1,000 battles. One hand shakes when it holds the sword, the other doesn't shake because it had shaked a couple hundred times before. Do you know what I mean? It's like a part of me, guys, I'm telling you, I'm somebody who, I'm kind of like, how do I say it? They're like in the middle of the research section of his own talk. He's talking about his feelings. Guys, I'm trying to tell you that level 3, you got acquainted to the system. Level 4, you're wondering, the system has looped for some time, and now you're like, okay, there's a distance. Okay, there's a space. It's like first you identified as the body, you notice the mind, then you identified as the mind, then you notice society, then you realize you identified with, you realize society was beyond your mind, and then you identified with society, and then you realize society needs to also update. Do you know who's updating the systems we're inside that we're thinking of updating? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like some things on Earth haven't updated. Do you know what I mean? They're just the same. After the Industrial Revolution, this could be the downsides of leaping a couple dimensions. Like if somebody says, what are the psychological consequences of multidimensional travel if possible? I would be like, after some point, you don't know how to feel anymore. They're like, why, man? Are you heartless? And the person's like, no, I've just accessed an infinite archive of emotions, and now I'm truly grateful why we are actually a soul. Why we are an awareness, the seat of awareness, where all phenomenology has in some sense danced in front of our eyes and we've tipped it with meaning. You know what I mean? On some level, you kind of look at reality and you see, like, what is it doing? They're like, yo, man, how did you become such a deep thinker? And the person's like, well, it wasn't by choice. It's just I realized we have no clue where we are. Anyways, so level 4 is you got to see in a system that moves you first what it's like. So people who are like, level 4 is abstract rationality. It's pretty much when you can it's like unlocking a new level where you're like, yo, I'm not just a body, I'm not just a mind, I'm not just a body and mind that can, like liquid, fill the cup of society. Do you know what I mean? It's like after some point, pretty much, you realize you can be your own agent, your own independent agency. Okay. But anyways, just to not confuse you, I'll read the summary again. So level 4, abstract rationality. Abstract rationality allows for autonomy and structured reflection. It empowers personal growth, but risks becoming rigid, overconfident, or emotionally detached. You know? So sometimes it is the case, I think often, that when a person suddenly sees dimensions to something they didn't see before, they might generalize that, the like others are like, how can I say it? There was a moment, I'll be honest, there was a moment where it was before anybody like commented, anybody said anything. It was like pure solitude, and there was a moment, I think it was maybe like the second talk I ever gave on this planet. And the second talk I ever gave, guys, is not is not there. Because I remember the second talk I gave, I was right off the bat, I was explaining why Moses had parted the Red Sea and what, like, the depth of what that could mean. And I remember explaining it, and it was a corrupted file. Do you know? It's crazy. These are the lectures that made it to the upload, were made it to cyberspace. You're like, you're listening to, these lectures that you're listening that have entered cyberspace, the way they got here, you don't understand, how many lectures haven't. Do you know? I've recorded and they're trapped in phones with full memory, and somebody once threw my hard drive at a door, which had 300 lectures, which was like at the time for me, it was a lot, you know, a lot of effort. It was like, so many nights just got deleted because somebody threw a hard drive, you know, right? Like I don't even like there should be like that should kind of be like, I'm not saying there should be the death sentence if you throw someone's hard drive. Sorry guys, I'm joking. It's a ridiculous joke. To be honest, what I'm saying is don't throw people's hard drives, guys, you know. They're like, Mr. Within, what? It's like, yo, man, yo, I'm gonna start a charity, guys. That's just gonna be from like, you know, anybody who has a phone that has full memory, you know. Anyways, back to it. People are like, yo, is this guy telling jokes at the research portion of his own lecture? Level 5, systemic thinking, the web of context. Once the self becomes stable, a deeper realization arrives. Everything is connected. No belief exists in isolation. No action lacks context. This is systemic thought, the ability to see networks, relationships, and interdependencies. You begin to think ecologically, politically, historically. You can understand others' views even when you disagree. Here, the self becomes plural. You understand your own mind as a system inside larger systems. But with this comes a challenge. Truth becomes slippery. Values feel relative. The world seems endlessly complex, and certainty dissolves. Summary: systemic thinking brings multi-perspective awareness. It sees truth in context but struggles with relativism, fragmentation, and moral paralysis. So guys, the fifth kind of, we don't have to I said staircase, but okay, let's say we get to systems thinking, okay? So think of it this way: level 5 was you realizing you can be an independent concept. Level 4 was you realizing you can be an independent. Okay, oh my God, I got it. So at first you're figuring out what level 1 is figuring out what the body is. Level 2 is just getting the first kind of experience of your mind. Level 3 is you experiencing yourself as a concept that is dependent, as a dependent concept. Okay, that's level 3. Level 4, you're experiencing yourself as an independent concept. Level 5. Or no, sorry, I'm confusing myself here. Hold on, guys. Level 1, yeah, the body. Level 2, getting the first sense of the mind. Level 3, experiencing the concept of your body and mind being a self, dependent to society's rules. So that's level 3. It's like getting acquainted to a system that was here before rules, like getting acquainted to the rules, that was rule-based thinking, pretty much. And then at level 4 is a concept that is independent. So abstract rationality means you thought you were a concept, that your value was based on what others told you. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you're in level 3. No. Oh my God, I'm confusing myself. No. Level 3. Level 3 is a concept, is like you're experiencing yourself, as a person, kind of dependent on the rules that were here before. So you're experiencing yourself as a conditional concept. Okay, but level 4 is you experience yourself as a unconditional, independent concept to the environment that's telling you what to be, and you're depending on the environment's value, right? So level 4 is an independent concept. Level 5 is you become aware of the context, the web of contexts. So a level 5 kind of thinker is in some sense aware, wait a minute, it's not just this conditional self, and then an unconditional self. The concept is found in a context. And there is various ways. Like if you ask me right now, how do human beings generate meaning? I will say they find a concept and they give it a context. Their life and their eyes and their mind is giving context, their personal context to every form or concept they see. So systemic thinking brings multi-perspective awareness. It sees truth in context, but struggles with relativism, fragmentation, and moral process. This is where I think we are right now, kinda. Okay, forget what I just said. Let me say it this way: that level 5, you become aware of the context. You know, you begin seeing relationships, networks. What systems thinking means is that a system is like a bunch of elements that together are a system, and the elements in the system are dependent. You know, they're dependent, or they are in some sense connected. They're either interconnected or they're engaging. So right now, I'll give you an example. If somebody was like, hey, do we have a human system here? And I'll be like, yeah, we have all these individual human beings, these elements in the system, and together the holistic view is systems thinking. So any person, like a father trying to, like, what do you call it? Like, imagine a family man trying to kind of, protect his, like, their family's future. That's systems thinking. The whole family is the system. Okay, and do you know what I mean? And every aspect of it is important. And to be honest, what a dysfunctional family is, it doesn't mean it's a family that's just rude. You could have the politest members of a family, like imagine a son, a daughter, a mother, a father, and they could all be polite and very nice and calm and gentle people, but it doesn't mean it's a functional family, right? The functional family is in regards to the exchange of information from all the levels of access in the system. Okay? So even though I'm kind of saying, yo guys, let's climb the staircase of the levels of thinking levels on Earth, but on some point we're beginning to realize it's not just, it's a system. So think of it this way: you were born in this world, and first you're learning about yourself, right? You're learning that you have a physical body. Wah, wah. You know what I mean? They're like, what's the sound of pain? So systems thinking is you're realizing, think of it this way: level 1, you got to know your body. Level 2, you got to experience your ego. Level 1, you thought your body was only real. Then level 2, you thought your ego was real. Do you know? Level 3, you realize there's something beyond you as just an individual. There's society. Your mind got introduced to, in some sense, level 3, which is concrete rule-based thinking. So in some sense, the child at some point was like, okay, I know what my mind is, what my body is, but in practice, it's like a conditional self. So in some sense, level 3, the child's listening to their parents. Okay, level, or do you know what? Okay, for example, right? Or human beings following laws. The and level so level 1 and 2, I got to know my body and mind. Level 3, I got to know myself, myself. I got to know myself as a concept in a system that is telling me what to do. And level 2 is, okay, I'm What level 2, what am I saying? See, guys, like a telescope, I have to realign myself right now to kind of see this clearly. Level 1, child, got to experience its physical body. That's level 1. Level 2, it got to experience its ego, the child thinking it's a superhero. And then level 3, the child realizing, okay, it's like the first taste, I shouldn't say taste, the first experience of a self. Okay? What that means is that I want you to remember when you were a kid. Right now, as I'm speaking to you guys, I'm speaking through the eyes of myself as a kid right now. You don't understand. The memories right here. You know? It's like I don't just remember my memories, I remember what it felt like looking at that memory. Do you know what I mean? I think I have some part of my intelligence is photographic. Anyways, level 1, you got to know your physical self. Level 2, you got to know your, non-physical self, your psychological self. Level 1, physiological self. Level 2, your psychological self. Level 3, you in some sense got a sense, the initial experience of being a human being in a system where there's rules, the system's telling you what to do. And then after some point of looping in that system, you in some sense go to level 4 and you begin to realize that it's not just rationality or like that has to just, it's not like the system has to loop. It's that you can kind of notice abstraction. Do you know? That means it's like if somebody told you, I'll give you an example. There's this shamanic tribe, I don't know where, maybe in the Amazons or somewhere, where this tribe, like they raise their children until the age of 18 inside a cave, never seeing light. It's weird. It's like this primitive tribe that they're like until you're 18, they don't let you to go out in the world. This is like a primitive tribe, right? And imagine that moment where the guy, after 18 years of living in darkness, just kind of like suddenly sees, oh my God, there's a world here. Do you know what I mean? This whole time I've been living in a dark room, but there's a world, you know? And and so what I'm saying is it's the same thing where it's like you were in a conditioned system. Now you've noticed the conditions of the system. And so there was a dependent self. You got introduced to a dependent self, but then level 4 is an independent self. And level 5 is the realization of the context, that there's multiple contexts. That means I thought my whole life, it was just I was looking at things and they had meaning, but there's so many ways something can be looked at and suddenly the meaning is there. That means you could put a problem, you could put a design in a room full of like, next level designers, and they each look at it and it's like it's not just them looking at it. They're not just wondering about the design, they're wondering about in what design is that design found, in what world is this self found, right? This self of ours. So level 5 is becoming aware that, okay, through the context, there's multiple contexts. That means when we say somebody is a good guy, that means they've done something good and we're like, okay, good context. Somebody does something bad, do you know what I mean? We say, okay, bad context. That's a bad person. It means they are, it's like the light that is shining upon people changes. And it's not just the physical light. It's kind of like every action we do, we can feel if we are getting closer to truth or not. Somebody in the chat section says, what are your thoughts on Osho? If you had asked me this a couple years ago, before I had truly understood there's a system admin here, independent of me, not dependent to my meaning, I that means right now I will tell you I'm that person who hugged Buddha, but then said goodbye. To Vedanta Buddhism, I'm somebody who, like a couple years ago, when I would give these talks, I had a completely different context to reality. You don't understand. The context I had to reality was that I was reading, maybe some people remember, but I was reading like the Vedanta. Sorry, I was reading, what was it called? The Bhagavad Gita, right? And while I was reading it, I was getting memories that I felt like I was Rishi Vyasa, you know, in another life, right? I had that kind of mentality, but now I look at Buddha, Osho, and all those people that have copped out, that they have, in some sense, I don't want to say, I can't call them brave souls, but I can't call them cowards either, do you know, that they, in some sense, have, how do I say it? The point of this life is not non-duality. What I mean by this, what I mean by this is that for me, Osho, somebody in the chat section said Osho, Buddha, Muji, Papaji, Ramana Maharshi. Do you know what I mean? The Gita, even I looked into some of the Puranas, you know what I mean? They were strange, harder to decode though, do you know? And I'm telling you that, guys, I don't know, at least as one soul in this world, I've realized that sort of Osho spirituality is the ego's last resort. The whole point of life, I should say differently. If you asked Osho, for example, guys, I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion is there's a system admin beyond this world, okay, beyond the world room, and nothing in the world room can act like truth. Nothing. This is my opinion. And it's also the Islamic faith, which means that the system admin is so beyond every idea that man can ever fathom, that it's, in some sense, think of it this way. Osho was trying to convince everybody that everybody is God, but I find that to be an error. That means I be a graceful being. Go feel united with everything in manifestation, right? But, there's some beings who in this specific room are here to play a specific game. Do you know what that means? That means if you want to play the game of the species, you can't act like you're sorry guys, I don't want to be harsh. I've just lived through that, and I could tell you that if you think you are the higher power, there's a chance that you destroy yourself. Okay, human beings are entities. We are designed here as an intelligence. And if you look at everything in civilization, it's based on higher ideals. In some sense, everybody is working towards their higher ideals. The issue is now we're wondering what is the highest ideal, you know? So guys, I don't know, for me, on some level, only the system admin, only God knows what was truly in Osho's heart, But for me, if life was about non-duality, there never needed to be a body. Do you understand? That means, why do I see a human when I look in the mirror? Why do I not see invisibility, or why do I not see shimmering light? It's because I am here to be human. Now, the difference between the shift from spirituality, I guess, if somebody told me, is religion a more advanced system, or is kind of like spirituality and meditation, and I'll be like, religion. You know why? Because if you act like the higher power, you will limit truth to yourself. If you right now you're like, yo man, I'm God, we're all God, yo. Do you know what I mean? This to me is the ego kind of laughing in the background like they bought it. You see, for me, I'm not saying trying any. Okay, think of it this way. Somebody, there was this one time, this personal trainer in fitness, right? He told me this advice, and he's like, always listen to your body, and and I don't know if I've listened to that advice well, but the whole point of it was that I think it's also similar that when you want to function in this world, if you're asking me a question of what's right and wrong, you got to kind of understand that you have been gifted with the privilege of being a life force. You're a force right now. And the whole point of it is what sort of relationship you have with yourself. Sure, you could go think you're everything. You know what I mean? The person's like, yo, man, it was easy, bro. I sat under a tree and I became everything. And people were like, yo, man, I've never, it's like there's nothing more pure than, in some sense, dissolving into nothingness. I'm not, see, guys, I'm not trying to, let me tell you why I'm giving you a kind of like an arrogant response here. There's a reason. Okay. I do respect the sophistication of like those systems. It's just for me, when life is a simulation, if you're inside a simulation, you can't act like what's in the simulation is truth. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of changes your narrative that truth is not something that kind of activates, from, it's not like, I used to think that it was a realization, but I'm starting to like right now, I'm a kind of person where I don't believe in karma. This doesn't mean I don't believe in consequence of actions. No, I do. But why don't I metaphysically believe in karma and reincarnation and a sort of kind of infinitely looping due to misdecision of some higher position? It's because, what would you say if someone limited was acting limitless? You would say they neither understand their limitations and they neither understand the limitless. See, for me, spirituality was like, again, like it was level 2 thinking that had somehow connected to level 5 thinking. Do you know? But I'm telling you, in accordance to this AI generated thing I was reading for you, which I'm still in the middle of, believe it or not. So, to answer the question in the chat section, see, guys, I cannot judge human beings. Even if Osho came and talked to me and said something, I'll be like, I still have no clue who that is. Do you know what I mean? Because I believe truly let me tell you what it is. I had my philosophies based on my emotions, and then it shifted from like into just being like, forget what I feel and think. Let me just look at the design of what's here. And it's too designed. It's too specifically designed. That means I wouldn't be surprised if in, the higher heavens, they're kind of giggling at how we don't notice everything is so set up. Do you know? So then we go to level 6 thinking. Level 6. Dialectical thinking, the alchemy of contradiction. Most people avoid contradiction. I'm reading this, guys. Most people avoid contradiction. The dialectical mind embraces it. Here you stop seeking final answers and instead you evolve through tensions. You can think both slash and instead of either slash or. You hold thesis and antithesis and wait until a deeper synthesis emerges. This is the mind of wisdom. It doesn't collapse opposites into compromise. It holds them long enough for something new to be born. Few can live here. It requires not just intelligence, but inner spaciousness. Exactly. Guys, exactly. Inner spaciousness. Inner spaciousness is the soil of genius. Summary: dialectical thought transforms contradiction into growth. It holds paradox creatively, becoming the engine of deep insight and evolution. All right, guys, I'm gonna put this song. This song's been listening to it nonstop. Maybe this is gonna speed up the lecture. By the way, thank you for whoever asked that question. I would like to know, whoever asked that question, what are your thoughts on OSHA? So we go to level 7, transrational integration, the marriage of mind and soul. Beyond dialectic lies a union. Beyond dialectic lies a union. The union of logic and intuition, science and spirituality, reason and symbol. This is transrational cognition, not irrational, but that which transcends and includes rationality. What an incredible definition. Transrational cognition means not irrational, but that which transcends and includes rationality. In the lectures previously, I would say transnationalism, which is speciesism. It would kind of be like not nationalism, but that which transcends and includes nationality. That's what transnational means. So right now, in regards to the wars going on, transnational cognition is required. But here in level 7 thinking, it's transrational cognition. Here the mind no longer seeks only clarity. It seeks wholeness. You begin to think with your entire being. Art, ritual, metaphor, and mysticism are no longer childish. They're recognized as languages of truth. Summary: transrational thought integrates intellect with intuition. It sees the sacred within the rational and uses all modes of knowing together. Level 8. Witness consciousness, the sky behind the mind. That is so beautiful. That sentence is so beautiful. And as a pilot of that sky, I will read for you level 8. One day the mind sees itself. Not just its ideas, but the entire machinery of thought. This is witness consciousness. You're no longer identified with your thoughts, emotions, or identity. You see them arise and pass. You are the sky, and thoughts are weather. This level can't be, in quotations, thought into. It is accessed through deep stillness, through presence. The ego relaxes its grip. Silence becomes wisdom. Awareness becomes the teacher. Summary: witness consciousness excuse me. Witness consciousness is pure presence beyond identification. It observes the mind itself and rests in spacious, non-reactive awareness. Oh my God, guys, there's another level. So guys, after you've kind of noticed there's multiple contexts in level 5, level 6 you begin kind of realizing you're becoming aware that you're aware of duality. So think of it this way, when you see someone, it's like Schrodinger's cat. They could be good or evil, you know? That's a duality. That's a duality framework, but it could be that it's beyond duality, you know? So when you meet contradictions, transform them. When you meet paradoxes, hold them. So pretty much, guys, level 6 thinking is a type of thinking that can be aware of duality at the same time. And it can use that as an engine of deep insight and evolution, as AI says. Dialectical thought transforms contradiction into growth. It holds paradox creatively, becoming the engine of deep insight and evolution. Level 8 is kind of like you're noticing, you know, that you become aware that you're not just a body, you're a pure presence. That's level 8. That's a state of like advanced state of thinking, you know, but it's not the ultimate. Level 9, cosmotheandric consciousness, the self as the universe. Finally, at the highest edge of human thought, there is no thought, only union. Here, the boundary between God, cosmos, and self dissolves. This is not an idea of oneness. It is the experience of being the whole itself, awake inside its own dream. At this level, the thinker is gone. Only the thinking of existence itself remains. Few reach this place, and those who do, often cannot explain it. They can only become it. Summary: cosmotheandric consciousness is the unity of all things. It transcends the self and becomes the living awareness of the universe as divine thinking itself. Okay, guys, I'm going to make a point here. This is level 9 is pretty much, somebody said Osho, like those, you could say a yogi in the Himalayas is level 9. Okay. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the top level of this is my own opinion, and after I finish reading this, I'm going to dive into it. There is a system admin beyond the world room. This is the most important idea you will hear on this earth, I believe. A system admin not limited to the world room. That means this world, shaitan, you know, like, you know, let's say evil moderation, evil moderators, you know, they say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it's a selection game. This world is a multiple choice. It's not a forever looking at all the infinite options all the time kind of situation, you know? If somebody says, yo man, have you experienced yourself as the universe? I'll be like, it doesn't matter how I'm simulated inside a simulation. It doesn't matter what the relationship of my simulated self with a simulated world is, you know? The whole point of it is to be like, okay, what is the original point of meaning? And I'll get into that. I'm just going to finish reading this. Final reflection. AI says to understand these levels is not just to name them, but to walk them. Each level is a layer of reality. Each step upward is a death and a birth. You do not climb these stairs with effort alone. You climb them by surrendering what you thought was the top, again and again. Wow, wow, wow. This is the point, guys. This is why I would say religion is more advanced. Because think about it. The whole point of levels is that the top of level 1 is the bottom of level 2. The top of level 2 is the bottom of level 3. And it pretty much, we're constantly, another way of saying it, it's like your first ego, or let's say your ego right now is the top of your past ego, and is the bottom of your, do you know what I'm saying, of your future ego. I'm pretty much saying it, if you like, this is kind of fascinating, but it's like, surrendering what you thought was the top again and again. That is legit very advanced. Do you know what that means? That means, to how can we become satisfied by a changing world? Imagine, like, they're like, hey kid, what do you want for Christmas? You know? And the kid's like, I don't even know what myself is as a consciousness in this manifest world. I don't know. So AI says, you climb then by surrendering what you thought was the top again and again. And in the end, perhaps what you find is not a higher thought, but a clearer silence. And then, guys, I asked AI to kind of put this in metaphor. Here it's kind of explaining it as the staircase of thought. A metaphorical ascent through full hierarchy of human cognition. Imagine the human mind as a great staircase. Each step higher not only raises your perspective, but also changes the shape of your mind itself. Guys, you know what I would say? Imagine a staircase going to, like, beyond the atmosphere. Do you know? As you climb, your capacity to see, hold, and transform reality expands. Each level is not just more knowledge, it is a different architecture of consciousness. Step 1, the ground. Instinct and reaction. You begin on the dirt, crawling. You don't even know what stairs are yet. This is pure impulse. You react to heat, hunger, pain. There is no story, no self, no future. The ground is where the body lives. It feels, it survives, it does not yet think. Step 2, the first step. Magical ego thought. The child stands up. The world is a mirror of their mind. Everything is alive. Thunder is angry. Wishes make things real. This step is imagination without separation. The ego casts spells on reality. The first step is dreamlike. The mind believes it is the world. Step 3, the rigid steps, rules and obedience. I apologize for that. Step 3, the rigid steps, rules and obedience. Now the stairs become structured, firm, narrow, predictable. You are taught to walk one way, right or wrong, good or bad. This is the level of laws, systems, and external truth. Excuse me. I'll just read that again, guys. Sorry. Now the stairs become structured, firm, narrow, predictable. You're taught to walk one way, right or wrong, good or bad. This is the level of laws, systems, and external truth. These are the steps of society, stable but rigid, safe but unquestioned. Step 4, the reflective step, rational mind. You begin to question. You no longer just walk, you choose. You design your path, make plans, build beliefs. This step introduces self-authorship. The staircase becomes a tool. Here you build your own path. You're no longer told who to be. You think it through. Step 5. The spiral step, systems awareness. The staircase curves. You see previous steps from above. Each step connects to others. Each path affects the whole. You begin to think in systems, understanding context and complexity. Summary, you see the staircase from a higher view, not just what's ahead, but how it all fits. Step 6, the folding step, dialectical thought. The stairs now twist on themselves. Opposites appear side by side. You don't rush upward. You sit inside the contradiction. This is dialectic. Thesis and antithesis create new steps together. Here, the staircase is made of paradox. You rise while holding tension, not escaping it. Step 7, the shifting step. Transrational integration. The material of the stairs changes. Logic fuses with mystery. You begin to dance your way up. Insight comes from symbol and silence. This is transrationality, where science and soul walk together. The steps glow. They are made of light and pattern. Rationality bows to wholeness. W-H-O-L-E-N. Yeah, wholeness. Step 8, the invisible step. Witness mind. Now you no longer walk, you watch. You become the observer of the staircase. Thought continues, but you're above it. This is metacognition, awareness of awareness. You're no longer the climber. You're the sky watching the climber climb. What a beautiful sentence. What a beautiful sentence. You're no longer the climber. You're the sky watching the climber climb. Step 9, the vanishing step, God union. Finally, there is no step, no climber, no direction. You are the staircase. You are the thought. You are the light at the top and the dirt at the bottom. This is the level where self, mind, and cosmos unite. There is no higher. There is only everything, consciousness of itself through you. Final image. You did not climb the staircase to reach heaven. You climbed it to become it. And when you turn around, you realize the staircase was inside you all along. Guys, even though I finished reading it, there was a way I asked it before. It gave a very academic answer. I'm trying to find that. So I just asked it for levels of... Okay, so I'm going to read this, okay? Just because I might listen to this later and I want to kind of like listen to this part deeper. The levels of human thought. Read by someone whose laptop has 26% battery. AI generated. This thing I'm reading. The levels of human thought, a full cognitive ontology, a structured hierarchy of consciousness from instinct to transcendence. This is the full spectrum of human thinking as identified by developmental psychology, cognitive science, integral theory, systems theory, and philosophy of mind. Each level is not just a new idea, but a more complex architecture of reality processing, a new way that the self relates to the world, others, and itself. Level 1, precognitive impulsive awareness. Core mode, survival, sensation, reaction. Complexity, zero-dimensional. Time sense, only present moment impulses. Thought structure, pre-symbolic, no abstraction. This is pure nervous system response. Pain, pleasure, need. It exists in infants, animals, and moments of trauma. There is no, in quotations, thinking in the conceptual sense, only neuroemotional reflexes firing in response to stimuli. Humans at this level cannot yet think, only feel and react. Okay, wait. No. I don't think this is what oh my God. Okay, I'll just read this. Stage 0, the full staircase of human cognition, a hierarchical model for the impulse to transcendence. Stage 0, impulsive instinctual thought, age range, typical infancy to early childhood. Root model, Piaget's sensory motor stage, Freud's id-driven psyche. Cognition driven by biological urges, impulses, sensations. Key feature, no separation of self, other, reaction-based survival. Limitations, no sustained attention, no narrative memory, no logic. Behavioral analogy, a baby grabbing, crying, exploring by touch and reflex. Modern manifestation, addictive behavior, trauma reversion, unconscious drives. Stage 1, egocentric magical thinking, age range 3 to 7 years, also seen in adults under stress or in cults. Root model, Piaget's pre-operational. It says Piaget's pre-operational and then spiral dynamics purple. Cognition, animistic, emotionally bound, reasoning, no perspective taking. Key feature, world revolves around, in quotations, me. Causality is magical or symbolic. Limitations, no empirical logic or rule-based thinking. Modern example, superstition, manifesting without action, ego projections. Narrative thought, in quotations, the world is happening to me. Stage 2, rule-based conventional thought, age range 7 to 12 years, or entire adult life if development stalls. Root model, Piaget's concrete operational. Keegan's stage 2. Cognition, literal, black and white, obeys authority and social rules. Key features, external rules define reality. Identity equals role/approval. Limitations, cannot think critically about the system itself. Modern example, fundamentalism, bureaucracy, nationalism. Narrative, in quotations, I am what I am told to be. Good means following the rules. Stage 3, self-authoring, abstract reasoning. Typical age of emergence, adolescence to early adulthood, rarely stable. Root model, Piaget's formal operational. Keegan's stage 4, Fowler's individuative, reflective faith. Cognition, abstract logic, hypothetical, self-generated beliefs. Key feature, internal coherence becomes more important than social conformity. Limitations, may over rely on rational control, blind to deeper systems. Modern example, entrepreneurs, rationalists, skeptics, personal development communities. Narrative, in quotations, I think for myself, my life has a plan I design. Stage 4, systemic relativistic thinking. Emergence, rare before late adulthood. Root model, Keegan stage 5, post-formal logic, integral theory, orange-green. Cognition, multiple perspectives held in tension, systems insight. Key feature, sees the world as complex, dynamic, and independent. Limitations, prone to relativism, in quotations, everyone is right in their own way. Modern example, systems engineers, interdisciplinary thinkers, postmodernists. Narrative, in quotations, everything connects, every truth has a context. Stage 5, dialectical metasystems thinking, very rare, requires cultivation. Root model, Basache's dialectical thinking, cognitive flexibility theory, Hegel. Cognition recognizes contradictions and uses them for synthesis. Key feature, lives inside tensions, paradoxes, and unresolved complexity. Mental operation, moves through thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Patterns. Modern examples, yeah, that's Hegel. Modern examples, strategic philosophers, advanced AI researchers, mystic logicians. Narrative, in quotations, contradictions are not problems, they're evolution's tools. Stage 6, that's very deep actually. Stage 6, transrational integral consciousness. Extremely rare, often mistaken for mysticism or madness. Root model, Wilbur's integral theory, turquoise, Gebser's integral, Keegan's self-transforming mind. Cognition integrates rational and non-rational modes, intuition, symbolism, direct insight. Its key feature knows the limits of mind and transcends them consciously. Mental operation lives with and beyond the map, speaks in symbol, metaphor, silence. Modern examples, sages, polymaths, spiritual scientific hybrids. Narrative, in quotations, mind is not the final tool. Wholeness includes contradiction, mystery, and grace. Wow. That's an incredible sentence. Mind is not the final tool. Wholeness, like the value of everything, includes contradiction, mystery, and grace, aspects all in the system. Stage 7, meta-awareness, witness consciousness, transcends thought itself. Root model, Eastern contemplative traditions, Western phenomenology, Husserl, Merleau-Ponty, non-dual awareness. Cognition, no self-cognition, the observer of all cognition, key feature, awareness, aware of itself, the background of all stages. Mental operation, pure presence, meta-observation, lucid, existential clarity. Modern example, advanced meditators, realized beings, mystics, Dzogchen masters. Narrative, in quotations, I am the space in which thought arises. There is no thinker, only witnessing. So, all of this, guys, now I'm done with the research. I could kind of relax. So, see, guys, this was very interesting because the final level of thinking was a sort of pure being. So, think of it this way, the most advanced thinkers on earth, they're not just thinking about being pure, they're thinking about what is pure being. And for a religious person, it's equivalent to what is the original power, the higher power. So I personally shifted from, like, I can discriminate between my inner realms, outer realms. This is what I would say. I don't know what the most advanced levels of thinking are. But I am capable of considering that if we're inside a box, the awareness outside of the box is superior. And if we're in the box as 8 billion simulated beings inside a simulation, we have to kind of wonder, okay, why are we in the simulation? It's kind of bizarre because it's like if you were like an author right now, and in your mind you created a universe, fictional universe, and you created a character there, in that universe, and imagine that fictional character, in your mind you've created as like some brainstorming, let's say, author. It's as if wondering if that character, if it noticed you, what's the best thing it could do. Just a second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Important phone call. So, dear viewers, my fellow human beings, I, as a human being, what can I say to you? I'm saying that the most advanced being is not in the world. The most advanced level of thinking is not in the world. But because we're in the world and there's 8 billion of us here, we have to wonder about levels of thinking. And right now, the way if somebody's like, hey man, how are you making sense of this world, like what you see? And I'll be like, I'm telling myself a story that is constantly breaking. And as it breaks, it's like in the breaking of my senses, not breaking, in it's like if you identify with the body, you get access to a certain life. If you identify with your mind, you get access to, you notice different things. If you identify as a soul, it's a completely different thing, because see, as a Muslim, the soul is the secret of God, and but in the Holy Quran it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the soul is a mystery of, is a secret of God, and man knows little. And the soul is the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means your soul is the command of the original creator of everything. The original being. The original being does not have a beginning and end. Simulated beings do. So for me, the story I'm telling myself is that, okay, if I am an awareness to everything that has changed, then simply it's because of my identification with the life form that I am, in some sense, having everything associated to it. On some level, it's like you have a body, you have a mind, you have an outer life, what you see in front of your eyes, and your inner life, like the access to your memories and visualizations and your whole inner space. Right now everybody is living an inner life that nobody can really truly understand. Even if you put it out, like, do you know what I mean? Because there's not. It's like somebody once said. I mean, AI honestly said it, but it was like the ego is the defense mechanism of consciousness to provide itself a sovereignty and that inner spaciousness to respond to reality. Okay, but I'm saying on some level, if we're thinking about the most advanced levels of thinking, the most advanced levels of thinking 100% have an awareness ratio. So that means like a child has an awareness. Let's say a teenager has an awareness. An adult, let's say, let's say an adult has an awareness. And in some sense, let's say, you're like 90 years old, you have a certain type of awareness to reality. Do you know what I mean? And what I'm trying to tell you is that we each are like at certain part of this road that we all have to kind of go through. And to me, it's just like, okay, I've logged into a world room and I've done it 12,000 times. And what was the point of entering this world room? And the point of it is to notice why it's shaped this way. Why is it here? You know? I have reached this is my conclusion, guys, on this, that the most advanced level of thinking is to realize human thinking is limited, and to be aware of your limitations is the entrance to the limitless. That means your limitations, your weaknesses, what you lack. Your limitations are not here to be associated with just suffering. It's like their feedback. And so, in my understanding, my body was like, all right, I'm afraid of death. I'm going to physically at some point leave this realm. I'm not afraid of death, but I would say at some point the body's kind of like afraid of the finite, and the mind is afraid of the infinite. And why is the mind afraid of the infinite? Because the mind doesn't know out of an infinite multiple choice of viewpoints which viewpoint is correct. It's powerless. Do you know what I mean? And at some point you're going to realize, if you're not religious, your consciousness, its continuity is dependent on a higher agency. I think if somebody says before you were religious, what was the higher agency? I would say it was the future. The future, I don't know, the way I have been raised, it's like the future is important. And right now, we're 8 billion human beings living in ways that we're acting as if we are not future conscious. Future consciousness is the most important thing. So you have these 8 billion, and why do I say reality is a simulation, guys? Because it's obvious. The universe has been simulated for some time. The planet has been simulated for a time. It's like the universe has an expiration date. The planet has an expiration date. We have an expiration date. The ideas and thoughts that come and go have an expiration date. Certain memories have an expiration date. Certain emotions have an expiration date. Certain life conditions have, do you know what I mean? Or even certain things, when somebody says, their awareness changes. Do you know, more than I am, like what I'm telling you, I'm like, my consciousness is like a flashlight, and there's this dark room filled with like different objects and designs. And it's like, rather than me being what I'm saying, it's like, this is what the flashlight is illuminating. In this moment, this is what the spotlight of my consciousness is finding to convey or relay. Anyways, guys, what I'm trying to say, this was a long lecture, but what I'm trying to say is, think of it this way: the most advanced level of thinking is realizing that simulated life isn't the most advanced state. Before we were mistaken, we had been correctly created. And usually when you create something, when a person creates something, even though God can't be humanized, but when you create something, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, in honor of every human being that has ever lived, and every human being that is alive now, and every human being that will, in some sense, walk this earth and live, in some sense, advance the human idea. My honest understanding so far is simply that my awareness has appeared in an existential scenario, and this awareness in these 12,000 days of life has discovered various ways it can move. It has discovered that the human intelligence has an external aspect to it. There's an external function and there's an internal function, and the internal function actually has a deeper function witnessing it. And at some point it's like you've never been a snapshot photo, you have never been a frame, or how would I say it? You have never been a noun, you have always been a verb. And when you realize reality is a verb, and when you realize the ability of man to, in some sense, recognize that nothing in the room is more important than what's beyond it. That means the point of becoming aware of your limitations is that then there is something to go beyond. But if you start off feeling limitless, it's as if you may not feel you deserve your freedom. That's a different matter, right? It's like, human beings are not just living with other human beings, they're also living with themselves. You're living with all the past versions of you, and even the probabilities of the future you. There was a moment where I was sitting at my porch, this was years ago, and I had this habit of like making a cup of coffee and getting a notebook and like pieces of paper, printer paper usually, and a pen, and I would go and sit, and we had like this table on our porch, you know, and I would sit there in the morning with a coffee cup, and there was one day where one chair was not like connected to the table, and that chair was like just, strangely on the side, you know, and I go and sit there, and in front of me, like there's this space on the porch, and for the first time, my mind simulates in front of me. It puts an image. It's like my mind in visualized in front of me, like I'm having a first person view of what's in front of me, and my mind visualized as if an invisible room's visual overlay, like the content of the inner space overlaid on the outer space, you know. And I just saw the most chaotic and worst version of me, and I saw the most, in some sense, advanced or the most ordered version of myself and the most chaotic. I saw them at the same time, and they were staring at each other, and then they both stared at me. And there was that moment where I was like, oh my God, the point of good and bad is to realize what is aware of it is actually beyond it. The advancement of humanity goes beyond dualistic thinking. And at some point, it's like you're not standing in a world that is an answer, that is a singular answer. You're standing in a mysterious place. That means the world is pure mystery, and it's our storytelling over it that is normalizing it. But beyond that, what are we? How far can our eyes really go as a species? And what is the advanced states of mind that await us that collectively can be accessed? For me, life is right now in my own way. I would say in previous talks, this is like my system, my view on the Earth game. Level 1 is about self, level 2 is about species, level 3 is about world, level 4 is about the system admin. So pretty much in my consciousness right now, or like how I'm seeing it, there's kind of four corners. I shouldn't say four corners, but there's like four kind of things to do here. Four major missions. One mission is to become aware of what a self is, and to, in some sense, wonder about your most advanced self. I don't know if you've done that, but as a member of the species, I politely ask you to do that. At some point, maybe tomorrow or whenever, just wonder about what your most advanced self would look like. And then you're gonna at some point realize that most you can't know your most advanced self unless you're in an advanced world, unless you're in an advanced civilization where everybody's advanced. So level one is like your whole life from the beginning was about what's up with you, and then it becomes at some point about like, okay, I am conditioned to think that I am so important because I'm here only for like 100 years, let's say, like my physical biology. And if I'm physically here for like 100 years, why, like, how important were what is what when I'm alone, there is no value to that. Do you know what I mean? That means the point of it is when you do something for yourself, it doesn't feel the same as when somebody does something for you. Okay? And I'm trying to say, when the strategy is for individual success now, but individual success is dependent on collective success. And it doesn't matter if you have enemies or friends. At some point, you will look at this world and you will be like, yo, like an ant on an anthill and a bee in a beehive. I am. Like, you suddenly realize you are a human being. You're a member of the human species. You're dressed as the same, you're dressed in the same existential uniform as 8 billion other beings. And it's like, if we can't get along, why are we dressed the same? Do you know what I mean? It's like employees in a company, all dressed the same, right? Do you know? And then they're fighting, and the manager comes in and is like, what the F? Like, you guys have to represent the company to the public. What are you fools doing? Do you know what I mean? Imagine like an unattended construction site, you know? My after you're done, like, level two is the species. You wonder about the most advanced species, then you wonder about the most advanced relationship of our species with the world, and then we wonder about the most advanced power in the world, and that is the system admin. So people think that just because you're on Earth, you don't have access to the original being. But in some sense, the whole point of religion is like, yo, even if you're secular, you gotta admit, like, compared to all the species on the planet, we're the most advanced in noticing intelligences about superior to us. Do you know? That means if aliens land on Earth, the pigeons aren't gonna give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, pigeons won't care. Like a pigeon, maybe, like, a pigeon, like, those crosswalk pigeons in New York. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a alien is walking or if a human being is walking. That species is not conscious beyond its programming, but there's something within us that has made us conscious beyond our programming, and we're living it and we're acting like it's nothing. The most advanced level of thinking is realizing the human brain is like a limited information processor, and there actually requires a higher power. If you try to fathom the higher power, that's a true sign like you're a lower power. But I mean, excuse me. What I mean is that the whole point of the higher power is if a politician gives a speech to an anthill, the ants aren't gonna like suddenly change the formation of their movements. They were so moved by that speech. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's not gonna happen. The ants cannot fathom the reality of the human. A pigeon may not be able to fathom the reality of a human. Dog owners, the dog thinks the human is a like a more alpha dog. Do you see what I'm saying? At some point, we allow ourselves to be simple enough, and then we notice the higher level complexities. Rather than thinking you got to be complex to understand the complex, every complex thing started simply. Right now I am Muslim, and Islam is there was no Muslim back in the day before the Prophet's time. They were, I mean, after the revelation, we understood like Abraham was a Muslim. They all were a Muslim because the Abrahamic, all of them saw God as untouchable. Truth is beyond the world room. Yet truth is aware of the world room, administering the world room, and in the world room, simulated beings are wondering about what's true, and then they're gonna realize, just like the character in that author's mind, that you've been designed to play your part. I think the most advanced understanding is a contentment with the realization that there is like behind the scenes of how everything's happening on earth, there's a divine management. This world is under a divine management. And there was a point that I think I lived like 1 week with like this eerie feeling, not eerie, but this like kind of unknown fascinating feeling, like what's looking at me through all the eyes of people. Like if a bunch of people come and talk to me, is the inspiration like one being's energy, or is it in some sense multiple? You know? That means sometimes I don't know if people's eyes are cameras for the higher planes. I don't know. But if I was to create an android, like imagine I was some genius, inventor, and I created like these next level AI androids, okay? And then these AI androids, like imagine a father AI android, mother AI android, son AI android, daughter AI android. And then these androids, I go and put them in a house, and I kind of seal. Imagine like this is like if I was some genius inventor, and then I would in some sense analyze and wait to see how long would it take for these androids to kind of like imagine they're sitting at the dinner table, and then you reboot the system and suddenly all androids are there, and we as the inventors of the androids have put cameras in the eyes of the androids. You know what I mean? So what I'm just trying to give you an example here, like there's mystery. The mystery is deep. Like how you look at the surface of the ocean and you wonder how deep the ocean is? The depth of the mystery here is also very deep, but I see it ultimately as an existential system. God is a system admin. In this world, there are moderators, for example, angels or shaitan, you know, the fallen one. And the whole point of it is that moderators are simulated beings. God is the only unsimulated being. And moderators are simulated beings, but they have authority over the simulation. They've been given authority. They're like managers, and humans are like employees. And God, the system admin is like the CEO or the owner of the company that's like either looking at it's aware of everything going on in its company, or you know what I'm saying? I'm saying at some point you kind of look at this, and God, of course, cannot be humanized. The system admin cannot be humanized. It's beyond the world room. But I think the mercy of the system admin and living for the system admin, this doesn't mean you're living for a specific idea. It means you're living for a singularity, like the original power is a singularity beyond the world room that everything returns to. A'udhu billah shaitan rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, Ihdina siratal mustaqim, may God guide us to the direct path. Ultimately, you're being tested to see if the simulation is enough for you or not. You know, that means pretty much this is my most advanced, I guess, vocalizable level of thinking, that we're guests in, we are being hosted. This world room has an owner, and we're here to meet the owner. That means it's like, yo man, why was I invited as a consciousness, unknown consciousness, into a known existence room? And then you realize, because you're alive here to meet the truth. But the truth is not a personality. It is not a form. It is an awareness that you did not create the world you're in. You might have created its meaning, but you did not create this world you're in. Its design is not from you. Its design is from beyond the room. It's like, yo man, is Bill Gates in the computer? You know? It's about awareness, guys. It's about it's about intelligent interaction levels, higher intelligent interaction levels. It's about wondering, why do we have access to the future? And can you, in the middle of everything in the world that can distract you, notice that the simulation is simulated where the original is being? That means, like, you know, I don't consider myself like as a holy person, but I am existing in the same moment God is existing. Like, I am in the presence of God. We all are in the presence of the system admin. Everything's being logged in this simulated testing zone inside a divine surveillance state. It's a divine surveillance state, guys. That means if somebody says what's beyond natural law, it's divine command. Anyways, thank you for listening. And may our species, as all these simulations have aligned for us to be here, remember the original. Guys, it's about collectively returning to the original state of being. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.